Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show where after the collision, we sift through.
What is going on there, Jaime? Nice. Do not adjust your sets. Do not adjust. What's going on?
Whoa. What? Huh? The delay?
We tried to rehearse this. We tried to rehearse this. Who's delayed? Am I delayed? Oh my God. This is bad.
Yes.
Are we good?
We got to wait for your internet to catch up, Professor.
You know what? Jesus Christ. I'm trying here. See, everything is messed up. Jimmy T is got the flu again, or he was celebrating because Sami Zayn is the new WWE Heavyweight Champion of the world. So take your poison right there, Jaime Nice. But with that being said, don't adjust your set. It's a two-man show today. Jimmy T's in the behind the scenes, running the booth, messing up the internet, messing up there. But what is going on there? I am the glorious professor here, and that is the vet extraordinaire. And welcome to the greatest AEW podcast out there. Welcome to the only show where we all debate. Welcome to the only show where, we don't cater to the sickos. We cater to the Haminites. And that is that. I'm pointing.
The Wreckage.
Boy! Oh man, we're trying here.
The delay has shortened a bit. It's a little shorter. Maybe we can close the gap at some point. But we may have to use walkie-talkie lingo. We may have to say over after every sentence that we say just to make sure that we're on the same page here. Because it can be rough with the. What are you working with out there, Professor? That's not the Spectrum, is it? That's not. No, you couldn't possibly.
It's the greatest. It's Xfinity. It's Comcast.
Oh my god.
It's supposed to be good. I got the.
They own SmackDown.
Yes. They own SmackDown. They own the Saturday night's main event. But you know what? We're gonna try here, Jaime. So excuse the technical difficulties here, but we're gonna try to get this wreckage going strong here. Again. We got like a 5-minute warning that Jimmy T was, sick with the flu and stuff like that. So, me and Vev could have worked on our rapport. We could have worked on our catchphrases. We could have worked on the Wreckage Boy the right way. But again, of course, we are family, Jaime Nice. So we are going to adjust to it. We're going to roll along with it. Testing, Vev. How am I doing on the delay?
I'm hearing you fine. I mean, that's the thing. I'm not delayed. My speeds are as blazing fast as ever. But so we just have to see when the rubber band of Professor's internet, how close and how far that we get. But here's the thing, Professor. Look, it doesn't matter. Whatever scuff there is on these broadcasts, it's all for the entertainment and the content. We make content out of everything here. That's why we're the best in the world, because it doesn't matter what goes on. We do this live. We do this one take. We are basically the professional wrestling of podcasts. We don't sit here and edit stuff. We don't talk stuff over at the beginning like Professor said we was going to do. He was just joking. We don't ever need to do that. No. We know at this point that no matter what happens is going to be entertaining. That's why Jaime Media Group is unrivaled in this space. But I want to talk about just a couple of little news items, nothing major. We got plenty enough to talk about. Not so much with these AEW shows themselves. Not really, no. Especially not Collision. Again, Collision reads like a not a who's who, but a who's that of you already know who's going over. So, but I mean, obviously, like you started out, we got a new WWE champion, we got a king, we got a queen. Is there anything you want to say about Night of Champions in general? Because I didn't watch not one single solitary second of it. So if there's, anything that you feel is important to cover, to ask, or anything like that, I'll let you start out with that. I think would be a good idea.
I think I could say is congratulations to Sami Zayn. You know,
Yes.
the greatest nuanced story that Triple H didn't even try to even tell. What started at Saudi Arabia Royal Rumble vet when he was so close. You know, he was inches away from becoming the new heavyweight champion, but he fell short to Drew McIntyre, spiraled out of control. Sami Zayn was worried about his spot. Sami Zayn was worried about being taken out of the main event scene. And you saw a deterioration of Sami Zayn complaining, being entitled. But they did a nuance here. And again, maybe Triple H didn't plan on this. I'm not saying that he was an expert booker here, but he saw something and he pivoted a little bit. And then Sami Zayn started doing the ride or die fans. He was like, I'm doing this for the fans that's been with me since day one, which I actually appreciated. Now, people might go back to that gingerbread man BS, that funeral for that gingerbread man during his time with Trick Willie. But let's talk about it. But we're not going to talk about that. I'm just talking about the nuance of Sami Zayn from Saudi Arabia Royal Rumble to Saudi Arabia Night of Champions. And it came full circle. Now, whether you like Sami Zayn or not, how many nights, that's neither here nor there. That's subjective. But they pulled the trigger on Sami Zayn winning the championship. Did I expect that? Not really, Vet. I was a little bit shocked. I'm surprised that Triple H actually pulled the trigger because actually it was a win-win. Because even if he came so close and still came up short, he could have deteriorated more. But I guess Triple H thought it was a nice time and the right environment because Sami Zayn, Saudi Arabia, the connection he has with the fans, why not give it to Sami Zayn right there? It's not like he's going to be a long-standing champion, Vet. Might have it for a couple of weeks, maybe have it for a month before SummerSlam. He might get jobbed out. Who knows, to Brock Lesnar? I don't know. I'm just saying. But again, he got a nice feel-good moment for one night. We've already seen that on the other side with Darby Allin. So, you know, I could say the same kind of criticism I gave for Darby Allin. There was a story for Darby Allin a year ago for him to get that title. You and I probably might say there was a story for him to get the title at Royal Rumble, but they didn't want to pull the trigger. So it goes both ways. So either you like it right now, because again, with Sami Zayn, you know his career, you know El Generico, you know Ring of Honor, you know what he's done since NXT, and you're happy for that. Or you could say the same criticism as I'll say. It's a little too late, and he's a transitional champion. Go ahead, Ben.
Well, yeah, like you said, I mean, look, if this means a lot to a great many people, and I think that's good. I as far as the timing of it, I mean, there is no better time because they had nothing going on. Let's face it. What was going on right now? What was so important that was going on? Before this happens, everybody's talking about, what I'm hearing is, we're tired of Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is stale. When's Cody Rhodes going to turn heel? Do you guys hear yourselves out there? Like, I just want to ask, because I don't know if you realize that when you say those things, it sounds like you think you're the only people saying it or you're the first person to say it. But after hearing the same things hundreds of times, I'm just wondering, like, are you just seeing what everybody else is saying and repeating it? Or do you really think that you have an original idea? So now it's the same thing with Sami Zayn. I'm seeing all these people saying these same things. I'm seeing things in the chat right now that I've heard literal other people say. So I'm a little bit disappointed in you guys, I'll be honest. But if for no other reason than not being original. Like you said, Sami Zayn not being somebody's cup of tea is one thing. Saying things like Sami Zayn is not a main eventer, or that I've heard that from multiple sources. If you really believe that Sami Zayn is not a main event caliber talent, regardless of whether you think he should be in the main event, regardless of whether you think he should be the champion right now, regardless if you think he should ever be the champion, if you don't think he's main event caliber talent, I have no reason to listen to any of your opinions on professional wrestling ever again. And that goes to anybody who needs to hear it. I'm talking about people we're affiliated with. I'm talking about anybody that wants to make these comparisons to Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn is absolutely a main event caliber talent. Now, personally, I would have loved the idea of Sami Zayn never being champion his entire career. You know, like just that guy that just couldn't quite do it, and he'll be memorable for that. This, as Professor is saying, most likely a transitional thing. You know, this will be like a footnote in history, like, oh yeah, remember when Sami Zayn won the title? Yeah. The other thing that was funny, if you remember a couple years ago, Professor, when the Bloodline was doing a thing, and he was in a main event against Roman Reigns in his home country, in the main event of a pay-per-view called Elimination Chamber. And I remember hearing a bunch of people saying, oh, they should, Sammy's hot, they should pull the trigger right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I'm not seeing none of that energy, because that was exactly the wrong time to do it, because the role of Sami Zayn was, and this will make Jon Moxley really happy, the role of Sami Zayn in the Cody story was Apollo Creed. I'm going to fight Roman Reigns, and I'm going to die. And then you're going to go on and avenge me at WrestleMania. Now, they fucked that up, but that was how it was supposed to go. And then they wasted that, and then they killed Cody's story, and then we had to wait another year and everything like that. And then the Bloodline was extra bloated and sorry and long and terrible, and they had to have Paul Heyman saying we're only in the bottom of the third inning and all this lying bullshit like he always does. You know, like, we had to go through that. But it's just funny how the turns table when you've got people saying that it was the right time to pull the trigger when it absolutely was not the right time to pull the trigger. And now that it's the perfect time to pull the trigger when nobody's doing jack shit of fuck all in WWE and everybody's complaining about it all over social media, all over the place, all the time. And then they do one thing to surprise you and you're like, I'm never watching this shit again. Hey, guess what? They don't need you, because you wasn't giving them a dime anyways. And that's fine. But as far as the man, Sammy, whatever his real name is, I forget, it ain't that. It ain't Sami Zayn, that's for sure. Congratulations to him, because he's busted his ass this whole time. He's done everything that's ever been asked of him. He's been through a bunch of shitty creative. He's made the most out of a lot of good creative. And if it was his dream to be the champion, then who cares? Because lots of people have been the champion. But for him, I'm happy. Just the same way as when people go into the WWE Hall of Fame, if it means a lot to them, I don't give a shit about a fake Hall of Fame, but if it means something to them, then it means something to me, and I'm happy for him, and congratulations.
Ramy Sebi, that is his real name. I think it's Ramy.
That guy ain't ever going to main event nothing.
I just want to co-sign, because remember, when he came short against Roman Reigns, how many nights we were all cheering for Sami Zayn in the main event of WrestleMania with his best friend in the world, Kevin Owens, when they beat the Bloodline and became the tag team champions night one of WrestleMania. That was a main event. Come on, we can't, you got to have it both ways, how many nights? You got to have it both ways. So it goes to show you that, Bryan Danielson coined a phrase to the IWC. He said it on national TV, and it still means something today. Fickle. The fans are fickle. It's either too soon, or you're not the right guy, or this and that. So it is what it is. But also, newsworthy that, I just want to pat myself on the back. I just want to say, because I think we could talk about it here, because it is the Wreckage, and it is AEW newsworthy. But I want to shout out Bully Ray, because he watched the Wreckage. He watched 6 months worth of the Wreckage, how many nights? And Vet, it's like somebody stealing your test answers. There was 6 months worth of test answers that Bully Ray used, thanks to the professor, thanks to you, thanks to Jimmy T. But to paraphrase it, there's two things that I will actually commend Bully Ray on. Bully Ray played the sickles like a fiddle, because he just said one thing: he could beat the shit out of Jon Moxley, Vet, and that's all they pay attention to. But yet they forget about the nuance of what Bully Ray talked about, how many nights? And to paraphrase it, he took everything we've been saying for 6 months about the Death Riders. What has Jon Moxley done? Who has he elevated? And all that stuff, Vet. So, I'll say this first, and then you could chime in. Everybody's going to pay attention to what he said against Jon Moxley, like he could beat him up. And then, Josh Barnett came in to defend Jon Moxley, and Joey Janela had to chime in against Bully Ray and stuff like that. So, whatever Bully Ray's motivation was to do that, again, he's a wrestler. He's old school. He's carny. He wants to keep himself relevant. We got to understand that. So, if you're in the business of podcasting and like Busted Open Radio, you got to have some content. So I guess he had to use that AEW content to feed into the sickos, to get the tribalism going. So I applaud him. But at least, Bully, come on, take it. You knew where you got this from the wreckage. Vet, you know this. I don't want to pat myself on the back, but we've been talking about the Death Riders. We've been talking about certain things that we've been, head scratching about. But Vet, what say you about this? Because again, I say Bully Ray, he wants to keep himself relevant within the podcasting world, relevant within the IWC and stuff like that. I think he used that John Moxley thing to kind of like maybe sway his friend Tommy. We'll talk about Tommy Dreamer in a second, but I think he kind of like wanted to keep the discourse away from Tommy Dreamer. But again, this is the IWC, Vet. You can't keep discourse away. We'll still talk about it. But what say you, Vet, about the Bully Ray copying off of the wreckage with the homework?
I mean, it's the best place you could possibly get any of your material from. I mean, we're wholly original here, as I was just saying. Like, we don't have to repeat what anybody else says unless, of course, we are citing sources. But, yeah, I do find it amusing the way, and I talked about this a little bit with Big Ray on the Next Level Wrestling Review. He brought up these sort of comments or something, and I don't. This falls under the category of podcasting or radio as headlines. So to me, I just shrug my shoulders at it because I don't care. And it's one thing if you just like, sometimes people get on social media and they'll just put something out there like this, but it's another thing when you sit there for like 4 hours with Dave LaGreca and you gotta like, you just like, people are asking you questions and eventually your brain is probably a little bit fried and you just say whatever shit comes to your mind at that point. And Bully's never had a loss for words, or he's never had a loss for words. So I can see him just spouting off shit like that, in the course of a multi-hour radio show. So that part, I don't really think anything of it. As far as, what we've been saying, I mean, yeah, that's just what we do. I mean, we have to analyze this. And I don't think that anybody that would call themselves an analyst or would put themselves in these positions, right? I don't think they really consume the amount of content that we consume. Even as much as we consume it. Like if we're talking about, I didn't catch all of Collision this week, or if I'm talking about, I absorbed it through my skin. I wasn't really actually watching every single little minute move and detail or whatever, but they watch even less than that. So I don't know if Bully Ray has watched 1 minute of AEW in the past year to be saying this, or if like everybody else, he's just saying what everybody else is saying.
That's a good point.
I don't know what it is, but what I do know is if there's a side of the fence upon which one side is WWE and another side is AEW, I sure as shit know which side Bubba's on.
Of course.
Right?
He's
not attending any AEW events lately. So that's another part, an aspect of this, that people have to take into account. He's already in the pocket. But you mentioned Tommy Dreamer, right? So if there's something you want to talk about that as well, this is your platform to do it. Again, that's something else I've touched upon here and there. I've had to touch upon his failures every Monday night at 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So, I'm done talking about Tommy Dreamer. I'm done platforming Tommy Dreamer. But here, I give you, the resident ECW scholar, and not only to say about that, but I also I would love to hear, personally, I would love to hear your overall thesis on Tommy Dreamer in the wrestling business, because I struggle to think of anything worthwhile that we would have lost had he been completely erased from it.
I'll say this as an ECW fan because I respect Tommy's journey. Again, a kid from Yonkers, dreaming to be a wrestler and all that stuff, busted his ass and shit like that. With that being said, on the TNA tip, for a man that made Vet change the whole format of the Impact Attack to turn it into the Drew Carey show, that says something. So I can't defend Tommy Dreamer on that. So I'll just say this. I think Tommy Dreamer, he works better when he bounces off of somebody creatively. If you're going to give him the full, paper vet, you give him the full booking sheet, I don't think he could do that. If he fed off of Paul Heyman, then fine, he can bounce off that. But I don't know who he bounced off with. I guess it's Delirious. You can't bounce off of Delirious. You need somebody with experience. You need somebody a little bit, a couple years wiser, in my humble opinion.
Wait. I will say, in Delirious' defense, he's been doing this for a minute. It just was in Ring of Honor and nobody cared. But I'm not going to say he doesn't have no experience doing it. So anyway, continue.
Okay, I'm just saying again, there was no pressure with Delirious, and like you said, the audience viewership was very small, so Delirious could take a lot of chances or could do some stuff that people really don't care about. But Tommy Dreamer was given the task for TNA, and there's a lot of pressure with that. With that being said, going on to AMC and trying to rebuild TNA into something of prominence, that's a hill right there. That's a mountain, if you will. And then the thing that gets me is, I think we touched on it a little bit here, but I just say, he defends not giving Mike Santana the title at Slammiversary in Buffalo, his home state, you know what I mean? And then he's like, there was justification. I don't know if there was any justification. I think we all kind of tend to agree. This is where the IWC was right. Mike Santana should have won in his home state. He didn't need to win it in Bound for Glory, because I think, like we have said, for some reason, I don't know if we can blame Tommy Dreamer totally for this vet, but you're the man, the Drew Carey show and stuff like that. Tommy Dreamer has fanned the flames of people that were hot. We've said it with Joe Hendry. We kind of said it with Mike Santana. But in defense of Tommy Dreamer, once Mike Santana won the title at Bound for Glory, the only thing I will defend on Tommy Dreamer, he had no control of the business operations of TNA because they went dark for like a month or two, Vet. They didn't have no shows, no stories. They just did best ofs. And that's what made Vet change the format of the show, because they had no new content for Vet to talk about. That's the problem. I can't put that on Tommy Dreamer. You got to put that on management. They ruined that part. And Tommy Dreamer had to try to fix it. And then once AMC came, and now you got the cost cutting, you got budgets and stuff like that, he can only work with the wrestlers that are on the book, on their sign-in sheets. He can only work with the wrestlers that agree to it. If people are going to leave, they're going to leave. But Tommy Dreamer, he hadn't, there was nothing you can defend with Tommy Dreamer booking-wise, but he had nothing really creatively to start with in the first place. Because if people were leaving, that was it.
Well, I got a lot of pushback on that, but I will say, because I don't want to turn this into talking about TNA, because I don't ever want to do that anymore. That's my whole thing. But it's not so much about, you can always make an excuse for something. You can always say, it's just the way he makes an excuse for his booking of, Mike Santana, which if he's making an excuse for it, I take that as you're taking responsibility for it. See, I never know who to assign blame to for the things that happen there. But if you want to talk about that, that's one of the least important things, is what time Mike Santana wins the title, because by the time you got Mike Santana winning the title, your company is well and thoroughly on its way down the drain. It's not like this is the thing that's going to turn everything around. Fucking Mike Santana, one half of a tag team. That's not going to, I don't care how cute his little daughter is with her glasses and shit like that. I don't care. And a lot of people don't. But that's fine. That's the least of the issues. What we're talking about here is not incidents like that there, like a booking choice. We're talking about trends and patterns that extend over years, periods of time, over different management structures. Tommy Dreamer was at TNA supposedly long before Carlos Silva ever was. So if these things are going on and things were bad back in the day, and then you get a TV deal and things are getting worse, I'm looking at the overall trend and I'm seeing it go down, 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 down. And you did have some of the same talent that you had before. You have a Moose, you have a Joe Hendry. You don't have a lot of stars. You even got a Mike Santana if you want to include him in that. But even when you had them, even when I was, everything Moose all the time, I called the Impact Attack. Instead of calling it the Impact Attack, I call it the Moose because it's all about Moose. And when Moose was at the height of his powers and he was the best looking he'd ever been, a dominant champion, the best, most over he's ever been, and all that stuff, I was still every week being like, well, they could have done this. They could have done this, just because I'm enjoying it. But again, it's the a la carte thing. Like, I'll take this if this is what you're giving me, but that doesn't mean it's the best recipe I've ever seen. So you take things that already were having opportunities and you see them trend downward over time. That's when I can retroactively look back and I can say, yeah, this sucked. The same way we can now for certain look back at the Death Riders and everything that they've been doing and say, yes, this made no sense. Some of it was kind of interesting here and there, but it never made any sense at any point, right? So we could say that. We didn't know where they were going at first, so it was a little premature to comment on some things. But once we saw where it went, with the benefit of hindsight, we look back and then we can pat ourselves on the back, like you said. So that's ultimately the issue here. It's not so much if Tommy Dreamer, did one thing or two things. This has been years. It's been part of a process. He hasn't helped it. People have come, people have gone, both in front of the camera and behind. And if
let's not forget Scott D'Amore. Once he left, then Tommy Dreamer was maybe handicapped with what was going on, because people that was loyal to Scott D'Amore actually jumped to MLP. So,
or maybe Tommy Dreamer was handicapped when Scott D'Amore was there and things were better. And once you let this fool off the leash, everything sucked. Because not one person, like, at least when Scott D'Amore was there were some people that were they were pushing some people. They had like a plan for some people. And some people were kind of getting over within the TNA bubble. I'm not going to go so far as to say they were getting over. But as far as like the TNA bubble, the universe of TNA, they were getting over there and doing good things there. And then once Scott D'Amore was gone, it seemed like that was instantly everybody flatlined. It became like a communist society where you're all just dragged down to the bottom, So I can't defend anybody's opinions of anything he's been booking. But when I look at, the whole career, I'm just looking at like, man, I don't know what I can say. When we're doing the career retrospective of stuff, is we're going to be talking about, well, he did do that one thing. Well, that was a lot of Raven though. Well, he did do that other. Oh no. Well, he did drink Barbicide on SmackDown or what. Like, we're not going to have those classic moments, So I just, that's what I think overall. But I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that because, you've followed this guy closely for a long period of time, not like personally closely, but the stuff that he's been involved with, you've kind of had your finger on that pulse.
Yeah, like I said, like being like an underling to Paul Heyman was easier because you had that. Paul Heyman can mentor Tommy Dreamer on that. But then when you give him the reins, I think again, like you have said eloquently, well, he might need somebody. He might need kind of like that hook and that barrier or that buffer to protect him from himself. Because sometimes that's what it is. We've heard that years ago with Vince Russo. He had a buffer with Vince McMahon. So, and then you saw the WCW stuff. So again, that's subjective stuff. I mean, we don't have to go into that right now. But again, that's just an example. So, Tommy Dreamer made Vet change the whole show to Drew Carey. But, I can guarantee you how many nights here on the Sunday, we will not turn this show into the 90210 retrospective. There's still enough decent creative here that we can still analyze and probably get critical of. One more kind of news vet, but this is more of a prediction of the future. So this is kind of a new one here. Now, I want to go back to Double or Nothing for a second, vet. So follow me here. I'm talking about I'm not talking about what happened. I'm just talking about I'm just talking about discourse. You always kind of like look at me with a funny eye. Why you go and feed into the discourse, Professor? But I have to. But I have a point here. I have a point. But the discourse for Double or Nothing, like the matches that were made, the matches that were set up was so rushed and stuff like that. And then after that pay-per-view, people said it was a great pay-per-view. The work rate was great. AEW is number 2. Watch out, WWE and all that stuff. We're back to the same thing, that we're on Forbidden Door Sunday. We're questioning the booking sense of Tony Khan. We're questioning even this pay-per-view. And then the same thing's going to happen, in my humble opinion, Vet. Forbidden Door is going to happen. Dave Meltzer's going to give like 3 matches, 5 3/4 stars. One of them's going to be Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland in the Owen Hart Cup final match. We already know this. And then the same sickos and the same discourse that people were questioning where AEW is going and where the booking is. After this pay-per-view, Vet, they're going to say, oh, AEW's on the rebound. AEW's got the momentum. Why are we doing this to ourselves? Why are we rinsing and repeating the same discourse again? That's going to happen.
I'm not. What are you talking about? I actually saw a tweet that the professor made, and then I saw one of these marks go at him. Mm-hmm. And in my brain, it was kind of like, because I hadn't actually usually seen it. Usually if professor puts something up, I just see that, and I don't see his replies. So, I'm seeing him go at, being attacked or whatever. And I just think like, it's like that meme or whatever, where you see like it's like an empty apartment with like a TV on the floor and like a beanbag chair and like a video game system or something. And the caption is like, guys live like this and see no problem with it or whatever. I'm like, boy, you live like this? Like, this is what you had to deal with these mouth breathing idiots like this? Mm-hmm. This is where my Terry Runnels don't sell it comes in. I just should post that there, but I already know you're too far gone and you can't help yourself. But
it's like a drug though.
I guess I don't know. I'm straight edge, so I don't deal with that. I don't deal with marks either. So, but that's the thing. You say like, why are we back to this? I'm not back to it. I don't care what anybody thinks of the pay-per-view. I don't care about the booking anymore because it's hopeless. It's basically just like, again, it's a la carte. I look at the individual people. I'm like, do I want to see this person work tonight? And then it's a question of, okay, well, who are they working with? And then I'm like, okay, so some of it's morbid curiosity. Some of it's genuine, like, okay, I would actually like to see this match. And a lot of it is just like, I think this was probably, to use the WWE word, I think a lot of this was last minute pivots because one of the stories coming out, you've probably seen, is just people having work visa problems. So they're not going to be able to make the show, and Tony at least knew that. I mean, even fucking, goddamn fucking Mark Davis, not champion. Even cleared to work. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and he's a fucking champion in the company. So not only him, but then, whatever's happened. Saray probably was meant to be in these finals instead of Maya World, but she got knocked silly at some point, probably getting dropped on her head. Like these things happen, and poor Tony, it's like he's going to take the brunt of all of it, regardless of how much is his fault or not. We know, again, talking about what I just was mentioning with TNA, as far as being able to see a trend and a pattern from 3 years back or so, and being able to look back and see, yeah, Forbidden Door's always been, at the very least, a little bit, it has some opportunities left on the table, and at worst, it's just like, not really that interested.
Yeah, I go with that.
But even with all these things, a more intelligent, not to say Tony's not intelligent, but he, you know, a more experienced, wiser, somebody that's more in touch with what's good for business and not just what you personally like. I know he's always considering business. I'm not saying that, but you get what I mean. Like he has to work with things, and he's going to default to what he likes first, and then he'll look at business after. I think that there's a way, even with what you have and even with the handicaps, that you could still make Forbidden Door a fun once a year fantasy matchup pay-per-view. The problem I've always had with AEW is they try to work angles into every little fantasy one-off match. But if it's a fantasy one-off match, you don't need an angle. It should just be like, you know, I was thinking about this the other day. So, you know, you see a lot of these people that come in Forbidden Door. You see them on AEW television. They'll get booked just to be in a six. Yeah, you'll book them in a 6-man, or you might even book them in a rare singles, or you see them, they make appearances and things like that. But and then people when the people don't watch, you know, the people like the Bubbas of the world, they don't watch the shows, and then they might watch some clips of Forbidden Door and be like, I don't know who so and so is. You know, Jim Cornette famously doesn't know who anybody is. He'll just be like, who the fuck is this and why am I supposed to care? And then if they show up on TV, people say, man, I've already seen these guys, I don't care. So like there's no winning there. But I think the idea being, if you want to book one-off fantasy matches, it's better if they don't show up. Don't show up for an angle. Don't show up for a match. Don't get the crowd warmed up to them. Make them mysterious. Let the first time you see them be when they walk out that entrance, and try to impress you with that, with the aura, with the presentation, you know, the theme song, the outfit, the smoke and mirrors, whatever it is, you know, do it that way. And even if you don't know who they are, maybe they can make an impression. But if you've already seen them a bunch of times, the luster's off a little bit.
Well, so, I'll say this, Vet. I mean, the only match Forbidden Door for tonight, and this is a hot take, maybe, how many nights, but, you know, again, I'm the professor for a reason. But the one that should main event it is Tekla. Tekla's match against Starlight Kid has been done what you said. You haven't seen Starlight Kid on AEW television. You've seen maybe pro vignettes, maybe you've seen video packages of what's going on in Japan. But
yeah, we saw Tekla go over and get punched by Starlight Kid, right? But that happened over there.
It happened over there. So everything you said, this match is Forbidden Door-ish and should close out the show, or at least be the match before the steel cage match. That's just my humble opinion, because that actually has followed the formula of what it is.
I can almost guarantee you that's probably going to be my match of the night. Not for any necessary reason other than Tekla works the way I like. So I'm going to enjoy it more. Dave is going to enjoy Will, and he's going to enjoy at Swerve. He's going to enjoy that match, right? And that's going to be fine. And other people may enjoy other matches. But you know, it really, what it comes down to is it always comes back to the a la carte. We like what we like. We can't help it. Speaking of which, I think we should at least mention this too. As far as your a la carte, kings of a la carte, you know, your boys FTR announced that they're taking a potential hiatus.
Yeah.
Indefinite hiatus. And in true FTR fashion, they even fucked that simple thing up by ending by saying that they've got 2 more dates, one of which is for a championship match in Rev Pro. So I guess we know who ain't winning the titles that night, you dumb motherfuckers. And first of all, who asked? Just go away. Nobody asked you to be here in the first place. We certainly didn't ask if you were leaving anytime soon. We didn't ask you to work through all those injuries because we didn't want to see you in the first place.
I don't want to be that FTR mark, which I am. They're the greatest tag team in the last 6 years. But, you know, they're trying to sell some tickets. Come on. They're trying to help Rev Pro here. That's all I'm just saying. They're trying to help Rev Pro.
Yeah,
I understand.
That's great to help. That's great to help Rev Pro. And then after the match, you say, you know what? We're taking a hiatus, right? That's how you do it. You don't tell them before and give away the finish of the match before you have it. That's not how you sell tickets. That's like a Tommy Dreamer booking move.
You know, they've been working straight for years and years. That's what it is. That's why they needed that break. You couldn't think straight. But with that being said, I don't think there's really anything left. How many nights in the chat? I know y'all going crazy here, but Bet, you got your gloves ready?
Oh, God damn it. Yes.
Jimmy, you got the gloves ready in the booth? I got my gloves ready. So with that being said, we're going to talk about the go-home edition of AEW's Dynamite and Collision per se. Because, you know, we gotta build up to Forbidden Door for a reason, right? Right, Vet?
No, it's fine. It's perfectly fine if we just go into it. But apparently they disagree. So let's get a sifting. Yeah. So starting out on Dynamite, as Jimmy Walker might say, we get the Death Riders pregame ritual where they hug each other and hop in a circle. Like before they have a trios match with.
This was the funniest segment for 2026. I'm sorry, Vet. I didn't mean to interrupt you because what could happen live did happen, and Billy Goat himself took his step and busted his ass. Now, whether that was planned or something, I don't know, but it looked like a good botch that even Billy Goat himself was looking at Daniel Garcia, and they were laughing. They were chuckling, but it was live TV. I'm just surprised it was live that they did that. I thought this was like a pre-taped ritual. This was probably an hour ago, and then, you know, AEW just kept the tape machines rolling. That was the thing that was surprising to me.
That was during the this little thing here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even pay attention.
I did.
I saw these guys, and I was like, okay, let me just get to making my notes here. So Death Riders are hopping, you know, like, and I probably missed it while I was writing it down. So yeah, but you know what else I missed was this match that happened next, which is a trios match against Bro D Distico.
I was going for Mr. Doe. I want to give Mr. Doe, Mr. Doe.
But there's no Brody in that though.
Brodo?
Fit a Bro Mr. Doe? Mr. Doe, bro?
Brodo.
Brodo Baggins. Look, it doesn't matter what they're called because they ain't winning. And a matter of fact, so you have Mystico here, who's got a match at Forbidden Door or something, probably. And then you got Bandito, who's definitely got a match at Forbidden Door. Taking the place of Bubba Ray. Yeah, so then you know, that leaves Brody King, the guy they were trying to push as one of the most dangerous men and a main eventer and a threat to MJF's title and all these things, and the guy that squashed MJF in 5 seconds and all these other stuff. And you're the fall guy now in a trios match against these clowns that we call the Death Riders. And Brody does, I mean, at least they hit him with a belt, but they just roll him up. Going for a main event with MJF to getting belted and rolled up on Dynamite's opener.
Now this is where I will disagree with Bully Ray, because
only here
because this has nothing to do with the Death Riders, Bully Ray, because the elevation of Brody King is what Vet said. He beat MJF in 5 seconds. They didn't do nothing with that. So I cannot blame the Death Riders. I can't blame John Mox. Again, I'm objective here, Vet. I'm just want to keep it 100 here. But you can't blame Death Riders and John Moxley for Brody King's not ascension, even though I thought he should have got the match against John Moxley for tonight. But that's neither here nor there, because that was a better story. But again, even though that little nuanced story, Vet, that you're not seeing, my man Bandito is hogging the spotlight. And sooner or later, Brody's gonna turn into the monster and beat his little brother. That's just me. But with this match, it is what it is. But again, the frustration that I have with the Death Riders, and you, like you said, a la carte, my frustration with the Death Riders is not with the Death Riders, it's with the fans. To accept mediocrity of cheering and booing week to week like trained seals is frustrating. And the Death Riders, I can't blame the Death Riders because you're goading them to do it. They're like, oh, it's working. Every week we could do something different. We can actually be the heels one week and we can actually be the faces another week. I just blame the fans because the fans are so smart, vet. They're so arrogant. They should see through the BS and tell Tony Khan, give the Death Riders direction. Give them a purpose. The only purpose is the Apollo Creed Rocky thing with Billy Goat and John Moxley, which hopefully will play out at All In. But other than that, everybody else is where Bully Ray and I are right. What has happened to Cesaro? Daniel Garcia is even worse off. He's being mentored twice. Wheeler Yuta cannot branch out on his own. Marina Shafir was a fumble on Tony Khan because there was a point where she could have destroyed Tony Storm back months ago, and you could have made her a killer and could have made her the TBS champion or even the AEW World Women's Champion, but they blew it, Vet. They blew it. That's all I'm just going to say. I'm sorry.
I mean, if any one of those things hasn't happened, are you any more sad about it? I really don't care if any of those things did happen personally.
There's a little tear, especially for Marina, because I was the one co-signing Marina. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about Marina later.
So what I'm hearing is to use a Bubba phrase. So what you're saying is, so I'm just hearing that maybe you really have been mixing it up down in the mud with all these AEW sickos for too long because, it just sounds like the old story of like, why aren't they doing what I think they should be doing in my fantasy booking? That's what I'm hearing that. Like I'm hearing these things trying to be spoken into existence, and I don't know if that's a fair way to look at it.
I'm not trying to speak it into existence, but if it's right there for everybody to see, I'm not the only one. I think people saw it, and Tony Khan has just fumbled it. That's all. Other than the other stuff, it's the Marina thing. Everything else is, right. It is what it is. You're damn if you do, damn if you don't.
Right. And you really wanted but you also really wanted the jet speed thing, and now your new thing is the
let's talk about it.
You want to talk to somebody else to turn on somebody now that they didn't do it exactly.
Oh, you mean Brody King and Bandito? Yeah, that's gonna come.
Yeah, that's the one. Now you're, of course, how could I forget? We were just talking about it. So now you're trying to get this one over. Well, just let people be friends sometimes, Professor. It's not the worst thing in the world. You know what? Now that I say this, I'm wondering if Professor going to turn on me. Like, am I going to show up one day and there's going to be a chair graphic like coming right at the screen?
No.
Okay. So Renee is with the
vet. Can I say one thing before we
sure.
sip through more? I want to talk about the pacing of Dynamite for a second, because I remember like weeks ago that you was talking about the pacing of the matches and the pace and the flow of the show. And I looked at this Dynamite all through the night. It felt like you couldn't breathe. Like after this match, and I know you're going to say, we'll talk about things, but it was like once the match was over, everybody rolled out and then you heard music playing. It was so quick. You didn't let things process. You didn't let things marinate. It felt so indie. I don't know. I'm just like, it felt too indie-rific for me. Like even for an indie show, like after a match is over, at least they give you like 5 minutes to process. You don't hear no music. Then you wait. Then the music plays. This one was like 30 seconds. They roll out the ring and then I hear music. Like I can't process what the story was. I can't process where we're going to go next. I can't let certain things marinate. Even wins and losses is like, wait, you just want me to go into the next match and the next segment? I remember weeks ago, you was actually happy with that. But I think this week, I'm just talking about this week, not the other shows, but this week they overkilled it and OD'd on it. That's just my humble opinion.
You might be right. And as far as, my thoughts on it, it's more like, look, the efficiency is there. I see the efficiency of it, but I don't think it's something that should be done all the time. And also, I think that, again, if you're talking about this one-off fantasy book show, there's not really much to, we don't need too much to digest, because, let's face it, we
No,
already know.
I can respect that. I'm just saying, but because of Forbidden Door, I think he got away with it for that reason. If it was maybe double or nothing, if it maybe was all in, I don't think Tony Khan would have OD'd the way he did with the flow. That's the thing I would say.
No, so, well, we go to Renee with the conglomeration team. They're like, "Where's Mark Briscoe?" And everybody's like, "Don't worry, he'll be here when the time comes." And then we get another qualifying match for our Survival of the Fittest. It's Harley Cameron versus Marina here. And if you thought Marina should have beat Toni Storm, well, she can't even beat the joke wrestler. So, and it's another roll up. So just in case you didn't know, but so she puts the choke on, but Harley Cameron, the singing ventriloquist, whatever, titty shaker, what all the different things the many different talents that she has. She's also able to ignore blood flow cutoff and just roll back and give her the old Bret Hart WrestleMania 8 finish and pin her to the mat while being choked.
I think
the winner, Harley Cameron.
She was trained by Natty Neidhart, so she knew how to, take it and then reverse it. So, I see a lot of Natty in her teachings right there.
I see.
But I'm just mad again. Maybe like I said, the only fantasy booking was Marina, because I was so you heard me on the Wreckage, Vet. Check the archives. I was the one promoting Marina. I'm not saying I want the fantasy booking for her to be world champion, but at least she could have branched. She was the only one out of the Death Riders that she could have branched out, especially in the women's division, because, why is Jon Moxley the only one that has to have a belt? Cesaro had a belt. Why can't Marina have a belt? Is this sexism here? I mean, again, I thought the Death Riders was a little bit all-inclusive.
I guess so. But if she gets a belt, it ain't going to happen at the Survival of the Fittest. That's for sure.
It won't.
Ain't gonna be the TBS title. But we do. Speaking of belts, we get a women's Owen Hart package just to catch everybody up on who's fighting who. Then we get Will Ospreay in an exhibition against El Fantasmo, which sounds like he should probably be from CMLL. But if you're not familiar with Mr. LP, he's just some Canadian white guy. So it's pretty funny that he has that name. Doesn't even have a mask. But actually, Professor, he is one of my favorite guys. And I am actually happy that he got a nice spotlight, because in many ways, if you were telling me like, okay, you have a wrestling company, you could have Will Ospreay, you could have El Fantasmo. I'm taking El Fantasmo 10 out of 10 times. I've had enough Will Ospreays. I want a guy who can actually do all the things Will Ospreay can do, but he can also work, and he also has much more of an identifiable gimmick or persona as far as just like a presentation. Like if a white dude's going to walk out there, this guy with his ladder shades and his light up jackets and his head banging and all this other stuff is a lot more than just, Will Ospreay putting feathers on his coat to me. But he's just a Swiss Army knife of a guy. Can cut a good like deadpan. He's got that Canadian deadpan sort of weirdo humor. He could sell. He could do everything that you want to do. Anything you want a wrestler to do, El Fantasmo could do. He's always been one of my low key favorites. So I was happy to see him get this thing here, but we already knew what was going to happen.
We did. And can I ask you a question? Because you like ELP, but he's a great example. Maybe I'm just looking at it from a different lens here. But after the Bullet Club, I mean, he really was lost almost. I just felt like that. I mean, great work, great hand in the ring, great matches, like you said. I think he was the television champion for a minute or so. They
made a story out of him being abandoned by all the guys that left, kind of like, because the Guerrillas of Destiny were the last to leave, and they kind of left him as a man without a country. So they almost kind of made a story out of it. But continue.
Yeah. No, they made a story out of that. But then it's like he seems lost, and now he's actually what you just said. for the Forbidden Door, you never seen him. They didn't promote him, but then they fed him to Billy Goat here. So I felt a little bit bad for it. Could have, because the stock of him in New Japan is different than what his stock here for Dynamite purposes. He was there to build up the momentum for Billy Goat here. So again, I'm with you with that. I'm just saying what,
right.
But
they think in their mind, they just say this will be a good match.
Yeah.
And we'll put it on TV, and not thinking of the ramifications for the other guy. Like, okay, good match. Now, if you want to bring LP back, all people remember you just lost to Will Ospreay. Mm-hmm. So now you have to rehabilitate at best, and at worst, he won't get to come back.
Well, I mean, at least they did it before with like Gabe Kidd, because he did the same thing while he was in New Japan, and now he's okay with the Dogs. But again, it's not a level up, but it's a little bit. If it's an inch up, that's all I'll say. But that's the thing. If ELP is going to come for more AEW matches, Omni Nights, they're going to need to video package them and repackage them so this way we can take them seriously. Go ahead, Ben.
All right. Well, anyway, so he gets hit with a hidden blade. All that being said, and then Will Ospreay's going back, for sportsmanship, a little bit of sportsmanship at the end there. Will Ospreay's going back, and of course they got to hit Swerve's music. This is what you're talking about with the flow of the presentation here. They're moving from one thing, transitioning into another. Swerve's coming out for his match, and they pass each other, and then nothing happens. And then Swerve goes in there and for his match with Daniel Garcia, and I was just like, are you fucking kidding me right now with this? I wish this was in the main event so I could have disavowed it, but unfortunately it was in the middle. So I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm. You was like, I wish this was at least Wheeler Yuta. I could at least stomach it.
Yeah, because this is what we're talking about. As far as we know, we just saw a match we knew the outcome of, and now we're seeing another one that we know the outcome of. Mm-hmm. So it's I guess it's fine, but anyways, skip to the end. So Swerve beats him, of course, and then he wants to get a little bit of extra. So now Will Ospreay comes out. So I guess the nuance here, if you want to use that term, is that these guys have been somewhat combative as far as their relationship, where Daniel Garcia, as the elder statesman of the Death Riders, is trying to young boy, hey, Will Ospreay, do my laundry and cook my stew and all this other stuff, to him. And now he's getting his ass kicked, and Will Ospreay's being like, okay, well, I got to do what's right, regardless of this guy being a douchebag. So he saves Daniel Garcia, and then when Swerve getting ready to come back on Will Ospreay, Daniel Garcia has to now save him back by shoving him out of the way and then taking an attack from Swerve, even though the timing of this was such that Swerve could have seen the whole thing happen and just ignored Daniel Garcia and went and hit Will Ospreay anyway. But that's not important. We know what they meant to do. And so here we have this corny little, spot where Daniel Garcia takes the vertebraker, cop killer, whatever you want to call it. This is Swerve continues to be dangerous. Ooh, look! Look what I did to Daniel Garcia and his neck. You have a neck too, Will Ospreay, and I heard it's not very good. And I'm going to do this move to you, and it's going to kill you. Is basically the subtext of what they're showing us by playing this out.
This is where I'm trying to remember a lot of the story here between Swerve and Billy Goat here. That maybe you can correct
from last
me
week when they recapped the whole thing.
No. I'm actually going deeper. I'm going deeper here.
Deeper than they went last week?
No. I'm going for last year, because remember, last year they were the two that was saving AEW from the greed and ego of the Young Bucks. They gave AEW back to the fans. Remember? And and even from that point, there was tension even within their supposed quote unquote friendship. So I'm trying to go back here. I'm sorry. Yes, Josh, I'm sorry. You know me. I'm the professor. I have to give these stories here, but I'm trying to make sense.
Problem.
I'm not saying I have a problem. I'm just trying to go with this so this way we can talk about it here. But now they're from last year now to this, Billy Goat is trying to get aggressive here, thanks to Jon Moxley, aka Apollo Creed, and Swerve, who, by the way, again, I guess I'll go with my fantasy booking bet. would have proved me right. If you made Swerve Strickland the EVP, we'd be having better TV. That's all I'm just going to say. But now we're trying to build something for tonight, Vet, with this finals match. And now they're going to go tit for tat, move for move. And now I'll just ask you this, because I think we'll talk about this, because we're not going to do a predictions, Jimmy. I'm sorry about that. We're just going to highlight the matches. So you know what? I'll save that for later. I want you to, because we're going to talk about Swerve and Billy Goat later. Not. I don't want your prediction, but I want to know what you want to get out of this story. Go ahead, Ben. Keep sifting.
Well, spoiler alert, nothing, but we'll just revisit that when we get back to. We get a package for Briscoe and MJF catching everybody up. Then we get MJF family in the stairwell again. I mean, the echo is somewhat reduced, but it's still there. Still not the optimal acoustics for these segments. But anyways, the best part of this is when they got basically the whole Don Callis family, right, in the shot. And then MJF like looks at RPG Vice and kicks them out of the shot. Like, get out of here, which is great. And of course, we unveiled the DCMJF t-shirt, probably available now at shopaew.com.
Are they wearing diapers or is that a toga?
Yes.
To which?
Exactly.
Okay.
So next we have Jack versus Zach. Another little friendly exhibition challenge from Jack Perry, who doesn't have a match on Forbidden Door, so he's got to get his shit in here. Supposedly, the rumor is that he's working without a contract, Professor.
Wow. He's one of the biggest free agents out there, Vet.
Ooh.
I don't know. Who's
and guess what else? Guess what else? The Vet has hot news.
Go ahead.
From the, what is this? The Forbidden Door media call. Mm-hmm. So I have a quote from TK himself when asked about Perry and his contract status. He says, the plan, this is a quote, the plan for AEW and Jack Perry is for Jack to be here for a long time. I have believed that Jack Perry is a great wrestler for many years, and I continue to feel that way. I like Jack very much personally, and I think he's got a very bright future in wrestling. The plan is for Jack Perry to be in AEW for a long time.
You know, I could take that quote and give it to Britt Baker too. I could take that quote and give it to other wrestlers that we haven't seen on TV. Keith Lee, I haven't seen him on TV for a long time, and everything.
But he's in AEW.
Yeah, yep.
And that's all that matters at the end of the day. But here's the thing: Jack ain't going anywhere because the only place he could even approach this money is the one place he can't go. Mm-hmm. And not only can he not go there, I don't think they would want him if he could go there.
Nope.
So he's going to re-sign with AEW. If he doesn't, I'll come on here and I'll apologize to everybody for being wrong for the third time in my HMG career. But other than that, just expect that he's going to stay put, especially if Tony Khan has publicly said when he didn't have to. He could have dodged questions like he always does when he doesn't want to answer them. But he said he wants Jack Perry in AEW. So
I'm with you, Vet.
You know how he stands on it.
Yeah, I'm with you, Vet. I don't see Jack Perry going anywhere. I'm not saying that a wrestler's there is going to be a brand for life kind of person, but I just don't see Jack Perry kind of like moving to, let's say, WWE like this year. I don't see it. I can see it as a leverage move if he wants to get more money out of Tony Khan, which Tony Khan will overpay. Fine. Jack Perry, God bless you. Try to get more money, all that money, but I don't see him getting any more money other than, like you said, Tony Khan giving him more of a raise.
I just want to make it perfectly clear, even besides the obvious reason why he's not going to WWE. Okay, besides everything that you already know of why he's not going there, the eye test, Danhausen dwarfs Jack Perry, and look at Danhausen. You people are complaining about Sami Zayn as WWE champion. Look at him standing next to Jack Perry. He looks like fucking Batista next to Jack Perry. So, you know, they don't care about him there. And other than that, what are you going to do? Go to MLW for 10 cents on the dollar? Get out of here. You know you're going to re-sign that fucking contract. And with all your friends there that have kept you in this job this whole time, you know?
Mm-hmm. If they keep that fat dude JD Drake on TV, and
oh
we saw
my
him
God.
on Collision, then you're going to keep Jack Perry. That's all I'm going to say.
There's a teaser for later. Jesus Christ. Well, anyway, Zach ties him up as usual. You'd expect that he would. It takes a while to do it, but you know, he's Jack Perry, so you got to kind of put him over a little bit. And that's it. Jack loses, and Zach's got, you know, hey, here I am. Pop the collar. It's great. There you go. Nothing special.
Then he rolls out the ring, and then the flow goes weird with the Buckies.
Right,
that's the problem.
Because the Bucks come out because they got a match with Mad Mikey and Bad Dude Tito now.
Oh boy.
And again, we say duh, because who do you think is going to win this match? You really thought that the Young Bucks are going to do a job for Mikey Nichols? No.
Mm-hmm.
So then after this, they have the softest, weakest schmaz I've ever seen. And I'm thinking back to Dark Order days of schmazes. This was soft, gentle.
You're insulting Dark Order. Those are harder smashes.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
oh, okay,
100%. Like, you thought those were soft. You ain't seen this. This is Snuggle Soft, the little bear. Okay.
Oh God.
And then we got soft, weak Kenny on the mic cutting a soft, weak promo again. This is why you don't need angles going into a one-off fantasy pay-per-view, because when you try to get Kenny Omega to sound serious about something in any context, it's bad. But when you could tell he doesn't mean it or care, it's really bad. So it's better to just say, hey, you know what? It's been a long time. I'll see you in the ring. That's all it's got to be. You don't even have to look at each other. You don't have to be in the same building or the same room or anything. Just, we've already got it.
Technically, they tried that last week and they put me to sleep. That's all I'm just to say. So
you see,
he didn't learn from last week.
they started slow and terrible, and they de-escalated from there.
Yes,
to this week. So, you know, by the time they're in the actual Forbidden Door match, they might as well have sleeping bags in the ring, because it's not going to be, you know. All right. So Tekla, though, she's trying to heat stuff up. They show a package of her going over to Stardom and attacking the president again, which it proves that so the thing you guys got to understand, Professor, I don't know how much you understand, but I'm sure you'll get it if I explain it. But you guys, everyone, comedy, right? Comedy is subjective, but there is science in it. Okay.
Timing.
One of the things in the formula is known as the rule of threes, where, you know, you do something once, it's kind of funny. Do something a second time, not that funny. Do it a third time, very funny, right? And then from the third time, it varies and fluctuates for a while. Like, it gets to a point where you're like, okay, it's still funny. And then it's like, wait, are we still doing this? And then it starts to dip again. But then when it gets to a certain point, it peaks, and then it stays at that peak forever, to where it will always be funny. Every time you hear it or see it, whatever the joke is, every time you hear it or see it, you will laugh, you will get a pop, you'll giggle like a little girl. Hee hee. That's funny still. Like, but you have to get through that initial up, down, like you have to cross that threshold. And that's exactly what it is with Tekla talking about getting fired from Stardom. Because the first couple times she says it, it's like, okay. And then she starts saying it a while. You're like, she keeps saying it. Then you're like, okay, when is she going to stop saying it? Now with this going over to Stardom and attacking the president is now the peakest of peak comedy that this could ever be. So every time she used that, it should be a catchphrase. It should be a t-shirt if it's not already. Just want to say that.
All I'll just say, Vet, before we move on, is like I said, this proves at least this should be the last match or the match before the steel cage match. It better be, because again, this has Tekla versus Stardom has been Forbidden Door since she's kind of come over to AEW because they've talked about that. Now she's got two things that is comedy. It's either talking about bad about Stardom, beating up the president, number 2, and then number 3, bitches. Dumb bitches.
Dumb bitches. So,
she's got her hook. She's got her gimmicks and she's got her quotes. So she's got the comedy right there.
She's got everything, which that's a good point to do another side little Tony Khan news conference, Forbidden Door media call where he was asked to name 4 new pillars.
Oh, that's a death trap.
It's a death trap and he died. But one of the things he fell right in.
Yes.
But eaten by alligators. But he did name Tekla as a current pillar, which I can agree with that. The other ones, they may be a little bit questionable, but I can at least see where you'd come up with them. That being, if anybody's curious, Kevin Knight, Kyle Fletcher, Mercedes Moné. But I think Tekla's a fair pillar. It is ironic that you have, this, you said Tekla and Starlight Kid is Forbidden Door. Like the whole thing is that's the whole Forbidden Door right there. Mm-hmm. But it's not even that, ironically, it's not even that forbidden because she used to work there. So it's, it's not a question of two unfamiliar forces finally meeting, their worlds colliding. It's like, I'm just saying in addition to what you said, that's the little ironic twist of it where it's like, this isn't even that forbidden, but it's making the pay-per-view ironically,
That is true. I'm just saying, like, everything, Tekla versus a company, the one that fired her, has made it forbidden. So now the person
they fired her. It's funny.
That too. Comedy gold.
Funny. Yeah. All right. Well, this was not funny. Red Velvet versus Queen Aminata here.
Another qualifier.
A qualifier. Now, for whatever godforsaken reason, Professor, this was one of the matches I chose to somewhat pay attention to. And I don't know if you noticed this or anybody else can comment on this who watched this, but I haven't seen Queen Aminata in a while. And after watching this match, like, I feel like I still haven't seen her because I don't know who this was that showed up, but she seemed like she was checked out the entire time. She wasn't there for stuff. She was slow on stuff. Just had a look in her eyes like she had been concussed in the back before coming out here. Like, everything she did was, not that Queen Aminata was like the greatest ever. She's pretty young in her career, but this was worse than I ever remember seeing her. And
was she coming off an injury though? I think she had some time off due to an injury. So maybe the timing's off, and I don't think she checked out. I think her rhythm is not there. She doesn't do those indie bookings, to get your timing back.
It was more of like, so I've seen people that have come off an injury and they've lost a step, or like maybe they're just a little bit doubtful, but the enthusiasm's there.
Right.
Like they're excited to get back in the ring because they've had a layoff. And the thing about I can tell you from personal experience, when you have an injury and you have time off where you're forced to stay out of the ring, the marinating of stuff that you've known and all the culmination of all your experiences is cooking up here when you're not using it. It's the old analogy of you can't see the forest for the trees. When you're in the middle of the forest, you don't realize how big the forest is. All you can see is a couple trees all around you. But then when you get to pull back, now you're thinking everything you've done, all your experience, everything you've learned, and now you're watching it with that in your brain. So you're watching other people do what you thought you knew how to do. So now when you get back in there, you're somehow actually better than you were. Not because you have all your timing and stuff, but mentally you're ready, you're sharp, you're like, okay, now stuff I haven't done in a while, it's still second nature, and now I see things differently. But she looked like, I don't know, she looked drugged almost. I've never seen anybody quite like this. It wasn't just that she was off a step physically. I'm talking about like, I don't know, this was not her night. you could just see like the lights are on, but nobody's home.
But that would be more conducive if she was told that she was not going over. She went over.
Right.
She won.
Right. Which even more concerning to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They got through it, and Red Velvet, bless her heart, like, you know, she's. I worry about her sometimes because she's definitely does some things that she has no business doing. But yeah. So the Queen does win, off with her head. Sorry, Red Velvet. Isn't Red Velvet some kind of a champion in the Ring of Honor right now? I don't even remember.
Television champion.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
She beat Mercedes. Just
crazy.
She did that.
Right, but can't beat a drugged Queen Aminata. All right, well, anyway. I'm just kidding. It's just for entertainment purposes. I have no inside knowledge.
It's okay, Vet. You're just a little vexed. That's all. There's nothing wrong with that. If I have a problem, you can be vexed.
Just concerned. I'm concerned is what it is. I wasn't confused about what I saw. I was confused about why I was seeing it, and I'm concerned for her health and well-being first and foremost.
Very true.
Now Renee is with the Young Bucks, and they're about to do an interview, but thankfully, I've never been so happy to see CSC Wrestling Factory and the Dogs, because I almost had to hear a Young Bucks promo, but they end up fighting through. So they're brawling, and they fight through the Bucks promo, and the Bucks are just like, you know, whatever, you guys handle this, and they leave, kind of. And a bunch of stuff happens. I believe, what did they end up doing to him at the end there? They had like the Dogs got over on him, and then they did something weird. Oh, one of them, I know one of them had the old sunglasses that Christian used to have that like wrap around the head.
Oh, are we going back to 1998 or 99 or 2000? Like, yes. The Dogs are trying to emulate what they did. I got the flash.
They're mocking them.
Are they mocking the nostalgia?
They're mocking the nostalgia of something that they were too young to even watch live, probably. Okay, fine. Yeah, just call attention to old WWE stuff. That's great. Do it. Why not?
You just make WWE more relevant.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the main event is Ricochet versus Takeshita with everyone banned. Now, remember, Takeshita is the international champion, not to be confused with the national champion, and not to be confused with the continental champion, of which that's the rule that everybody's banned. This was an extra imposed banning on everybody outside of the belt's normal parameters. So it's like a makeshift Continental Classic match with no 20-minute time limit. You know, we can just do anything we want. Every belt should have its own set of rules. Why not? But this one, this is
a new tradition.
A new tradition. Oh my God. All right. So anyway, look, this match was the classic. Well, you're going over, so I'm taking 90% of the match here that Ricochet did. So Ricochet took 90% of the match and kicked the shit out of Takeshita for 90%. And Takeshita hit the Raging Fire, and that's it. Your winner, Takeshita. And Briscoe comes on the way out because he's got a promo to do, and he daps up Takeshita. And then we, yada, yada, yada. One thing leads to another. We get the TNA finishes spot where everybody comes in one at a time and hits a finish on somebody. And then MJF goes to...
Wait, to be fair, I don't call it the TNA thing. It's the SmackDown finish. That used to happen on SmackDown a lot. All the wrestlers from WWE did their moves. It was SmackDown first, not TNA. I'm just saying.
I don't know. Are you sure?
Mm-hmm. Especially building up to pay-per-views. They all did their makeshift moves.
TNA was around only.
I'm talking about 2000. This is 2002. This is 2001, 2002 ish.
2002 was when TNA debuted. SmackDown could have stole it.
Just saying.
All right. Anyway, so MJF has the ring, his Dynamite Diamond ring. He's gonna go to punch Mark Briscoe, who's being held by Andrade, and of course Mark Briscoe ducks. He punches Andrade with the ring, gets Jay drilled, and the baby faces are happy.
Mm-hmm.
Any other bow you want to tie on this episode, Professor?
I mean, when did MJF steal Bandito's ring? I'm just saying. I know MJF has like 4 rings already.
Yeah, he got 4 rings. So,
but you know, I
guess one of his old ones. It's a classic ring.
But you can't do that. You're taking the shine away from Bandito. It's his ring. I'm just saying.
He doesn't use it like that though.
Well, I'll just say this, but you know, as long as I've said weeks prior, with MJF being the champion, at least you know who are the guys that's going to go after him. Andrade is going to be one of those guys. I still will say when they do Grand Slam Mexico, I think he'll get a shot there. You know, Mark Briscoe's going to get his shot. I think that's going to be Beach Brawl. Kenny Omega is now a wild card, and we see that for redemption. So we'll see where we go here. I know, Vet, you and I are probably in agreement. We said MJF should take that title to London and go against Billy Goat. But again, you see the people that are chasing him.
Like, they're trying to will it into existence, just like you want the Brodito breakup or whatever. But the thing is, it's when I see that, I'm just like, how bad can people be at this? Like, being a wrestling fan, how bad can you fumble being a wrestling fan that you don't obviously see what's going to happen, or that you would legitimately believe that Kenny Omega has any place in all this? I don't get it. But what we did get was an episode of Collision.
Mm-hmm. This is where I was watching, I think, Portugal and Colombia. So, excuse me, I did not kind of focus on this, but I'll do my best.
Well, you know, one person that showed up, but we'll get to that. So we're starting out with the conglomeration versus the Ops.
Mm-hmm.
Orange Cassidy falls over on somebody and wins.
Mm-hmm.
The Demand meets Lethal Twist in a stairway, and then they go off to have a chat about something.
Can I ask you something from a creative standpoint?
What's up with the stairs?
Yes. Are they just going to do stair promos now, like it's stairs? Because I've seen multiple stairs in promo. I have nothing against it because, again, you know, you want to have something of your own. I know WWE has always had like the Raw sign behind them, or a SmackDown sign behind them, or the television behind them. That's fine. But I don't need the stairs. You can still do the AEW Dynamite or Collision sign with the TV behind them and still do what you need to do. Why has it got to be stairs? This is not now. ECW did guerrilla promos. They did stairs. They did parking lots. So yeah, I'm nuanced on this, Vet. But again, if you're doing something consistent, the Demand doesn't have to be at the stairs. They could be in the parking lot. They could be by some cars. They could be at the concession stand doing a promo. For all I care, but at least change it up for the nuance. It doesn't. Not everybody needs to be at the stairs.
No, I
just like when you do NXT review shows, you gotta chuckle that everybody got attacked in the parking lot. Mm-hmm. But it's almost like you expect it. I'm now expecting more stairwell promos every week.
With the Echo.
Yes, that too.
No, I really, that's an interesting question, because I don't know. I have no idea. Is it just the fact that the visual of the stairs looks almost like action, even though they're static, but it's like you have to look at the stairs going up, so that's kind of interesting. I don't know what it is. Can they do a promo in front of the MC Escher painting, you know, the infinite stair thing? That would be cool. But I don't know why they actually do it.
I guess they just want something that's theirs. So the stairwell is theirs.
No, it ain't even theirs, because TNA did those too.
Okay, that's true too.
We get Death Rider Cinema here. I don't remember what happened. I was probably half asleep too.
I think it was more of a motivational speak, and I know Daniel Garcia, because when I was flipping back and forth, Daniel Garcia was on the floor lying down, and Marina was massaging his neck too. And then, of course, John Moxley gave some kind of Apollo Creed speech to Billy Goat that he has to do something for Forbidden Door.
Right. It was just a bunch of nothing, really. That's what I'm saying. Like, they couldn't grab me out of my disinterest, so I knew it was nothing, but it's shot in that cinematic short film style that they like to do.
You know why he was so disinterested? Was not on the stairs.
That's true,
Mm.
man. And you know, when they do those shots on the stairs, because they do, you remember they threw Darby down it, didn't they? Or was that Gabe Kidd? No, Gabe Kidd was with the Death Riders then,
Yeah,
wasn't
he
he?
was. Yeah, he was.
Oh my God. Man, you know what I'm not looking forward to? Gabe Kidd. But spoiler alert, he's got a promo yet later. All right. Desmond Xavier versus Jet Willie.
Let's
not talk about it. Because again, another completely understood outcome. You see this match, the moment the bell rings, it's for the TNT title. You're like, yep, Jet Willie retains in however many minutes. You don't even have to watch. And I just think back to when I was subjected to this fucking guy getting a singles push on NXT. And I even had Big Ray talking about he likes this guy. He sees something in him, and I just had to sit there and just be like, oh my God. And now he's right exactly where he belongs, doing a job in the middle of a Saturday night. So when you go back, and again, when we were talking about my track record of like, bet on this, look at where Desmond Xavier is, you know, compared to when he was getting the biggest push of his life, and I was telling everybody it wasn't going to last. Here you are.
But let's just be fair here. Did you see good things for Kevin Knight before AEW in comparison to Desmond Xavier?
I will say Kevin is exactly where I think he should be at this time and where I would have guessed he'd be at this time.
Okay.
Because I first saw him in New Japan come in, you know, very young in his career, tag team with Kushida, doing the what were they called? The
Time Slutters?
Yeah, no, that's Alex Shelley.
Oh, they all look the same.
They had another Back to the Future related name, but or it was like Jet 2 Fly or some shit like that. I don't know what it was. But the point is, you know, I saw him kind of go through the young boy New Japan stuff, and, you know, I saw some talent there. I saw some development, you know, and he's coming along at a good speed. He's not getting too much too soon. I think where he's at right now, he's ready for it.
Okay.
So that's what I would say. Whereas like, even when I saw Desmond Xavier at the point that Kevin's in his career now, I was still like, I don't care. And he never did anything in the decade and a half plus or whatever it's been to prove me wrong. So
That's a fair point.
I don't wish it on him. I'm just saying, yeah. But Tekla does a live promo with the Dark Sisters of Dark Sin. Also do a promo that's not good. It's not good as hers. She does a good one. They don't do a good promo. But
it's a comedic promo.
Yeah, it's just not very. They're just not very good, Professor. They're cute. They're cute ladies, but their promos, especially to do like a sinister gimmick, it's just no.
You know what's funny, because just like you talked about, like Queen Amanada checked out. Now, this is just me looking at this. I don't know if you agree with this, but is Julia Hart technically checking out? Because there was so much promise. There was so much untapped potential, especially being with Aleister Black, Brody King, and all that stuff. And then when she kind of ventured off to herself, she could be the Dark Sister, like you said, leading on with Sky Blue and stuff like that. But once Tekla came in, she just undercut. And again, you know, there's no place holding. If Tekla's given the ball, she's running with it. I got no problem with that. I'm just looking at it from a standpoint like, is Julia just now checking out? Like, I know where my place is. I'm not going to get to where I needed to be, because she was the one with a lot of promise, especially character development and the presentation too. Now she's just not in the background.
Good question. I'm going to answer that because her character is supposed to be in some kind of a trance, it's impossible to tell. Because if you remember, once she got misted back in the, back when she was a cheerleader with the, whatever those guys, varsity athletes or whatever the shit that stupid tag team was. Ever since then, she went dark. She act like she's a zombie kind of. So she's been playing the gimmick like that. So if she really is checked out or she really is unsatisfied with her position, I can't tell because the way she's working it, she's supposed to be like that. So I can't tell you.
Okay.
But hey, I mean, as long as the check clears, just be
That's
happy.
all that matters.
Julia.
That's all that matters.
But it is funny though, as you think about it, former TBS champion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, huh. All right. So now we come to Jericho versus JD Drake.
And how many nights, if you're worried about Jack Perry leaving for WWE, JD Drake has got a job in AEW since the inception. That just tells me something right there. Tony Khan's loyal to the day oneers. That's all it is.
Oh, man. Where's Anthony Henry at? Didn't he do a job for Chris Jericho? Like, Chris Jericho is supposed to be... Man, first of all, I don't know JD Drake personally. It's nothing against him. But I have to say it. I'm sorry I keep saying again, Professor, because that's your word. But it is things that we already talked about. So it fits. You are not going to tell me what Sami Zayn looks like. You know what? Never mind. This isn't even the same comparison. All right. So JD Drake here with Chris Jericho. Now, Chris Jericho is in an angle with a guy that kind of is like his size and bald and jacked, right? And does not JD Drake's partner in the Workhorseman, Anthony Henry, fit the profile of if you're trying to fight somebody similar to somebody that you're going up against? Okay? Wouldn't it make more sense to fight the Anthony Henry as a Ciampa lookalike or substitute or stand-in than just the beached whale that rolled in and somehow was able to fit a small pair of trunks on and reach over to tie his boots over his fat stomach?
Before we both laugh hysterically because of this, I agree with you 100%. Is Anthony Henry having any visa issues? So this way we don't have to,
He's American. Just American as far as I know.
I was trying to help Tony here. I was like, is there visa issues? Because again, it just...
Josh, please, can you look up Anthony Henry with the statistics and see if there's anything that's happened to him, like he was in a catastrophic car accident or something that would have prevented him? Because even if he was in a wheelchair with 2 broke legs, I still would have rolled him into the ring and had Chris Jericho put the walls on him rather than watch this. And he actually let JD Drake get offense on, like, and I don't just mean he got to do stuff in the match. I'm talking about JD Drake hit Chris Jericho. He hit him. Chris Jericho's a diva. He let this guy hit him in the chest, and he let him do the fat upside down cannonball thing to him. You don't have to do this as a veteran of your stature, man.
I don't know. We got somebody, artist is in the chat saying Anthony Henry might have torn his bicep. Maybe that's...
I don't know. You can work with a torn bicep if you're just doing a job.
I said that with Logan Paul and Bronson Reed. You're right.
Yes.
You don't have to do anything with the bicep. You can do the roll.
Jeez. Well, anyway, so Jericho has this guy in the walls, and after he taps out, he's telling Shivani, like, doing the same spot, like, you say that I'm better than Tommaso Ciampa.
And Tony's willing. That's the difference.
Yeah, he's like, you're better than Tommaso Ciampa. And then Chris Jericho says whatever line he said about you're not going to thank me after what I do to you, whatever. So, but Ciampa's not even here. So, whatever. Then we get Lexi with Divine Dominion and Rosa. And Rosa's partner Olympia at Forbidden Door is not here with her. Maybe visa, maybe travel issues. Maybe some travel because she's booked. She's not here tonight though. So Rosa gets mad and takes her shirt off, arguing with him. So that's, if you like to see Thunder Rosa tear her shirt off, and when I say tear her shirt off, what I mean is she's wearing like a jersey, like a football or a hockey style jersey, and she rips it off and she's just wearing a normal bra underneath, yelling at him. So. maybe some people that.
While I like her cooking in the kitchen or her bikinis, I didn't mind this segment. So this was great. Only thing I wanted it be on the stairwell with Echo.
Torn biceps, October 2024. He was cleared for the torn bicep, but then he said he had heterotopic ossification like 7 months ago. That sounds like something that you would make up when you are trying to lie about something to get out of work.
Sounds like a sexual disease.
Yeah, boss. I got that, I got that ossification. I don't care. Wrap that shit up and get in the ring and lose to Chris Jericho. Just so I don't have to watch JD Drake with his shirt off. Please.
That's another word for jockage. Ossification.
Damn it. All right, Billy Starks versus Persephone.
Is this a qualifier or this is just a CMLL title match?
I think this was a qualifier. I think so, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, Persephone qualifies with a razor's edge.
Great.
And then Sheeta attacks. And then runs away. Because Queen Aminata and Statlander and Harley all run in to chase off Sheeta. So now you got all the qualifier participants out there, and then the 4 of them that just did the, not only is it Persephone there who just got saved, but the other 3 that came out to save her, and they're all standing each in a corner, and they're all looking at each other like, whoa, hey, you're in that match, and you're in that like, it was so corny, the overacting, the pantomiming and stuff. Like, okay, we get it, guys, you're having a match. Like,
this is Tony this is Tony Khan's attempt to make the women's division as relevant as possible. And I've always, and you know me, Vet, check the archives. I've been critical of Tony's obsession with 2 women in particular, Storm and Mercedes. And now he's trying to fix those wrongs. But again, just like you said, 4 women looking at each other for the TBS title. Fine. It's okay. Let's see where we go with this. You got 4 friends looking at each other and then 1 heel.
2 enemies.
Yes.
Yeah. Doesn't matter. Yeah. If you want to make anything relevant, that's the heavy lifting that your announcers do for the TV audience. You can imagine the kind of people that would show up in a Collision in fucking Albuquerque, New Mexico, where Bugs Bunny always takes a wrong turn, to show up and watch a match. And do you really think they're keeping track of who's all qualified for some match that they probably don't even know is about to happen? Of course not. They just probably thought this was a random singles match. So for them, it's too late. But for us, the TV viewing public, just put up a graphic of the TBS belt and put up a graphic that says, survival of the fittest. Just keep hammering that into our head. Have Tony Schiavone say it every, 3 minutes or whatever. Just remind everybody, yep, they're going for that TBS belt, the TBS championship, the prestigious TBS championship. That's how you do it. But anyway.
I'm literally shocked that match is not on for tonight. I'm literally shocked. Because Tony likes to add matches out the fly with the last 24 hours for a pay-per-view. And this one isn't it.
Not even on the buy-in? With special guest referees, the Rizzler and Boom Dad and
Rizzler's not in the buy-in.
QT Marshall for some reason?
No. Oh wait, there's one more qualifying match. That's what it is. That's the problem. Sky Blue has a qualifying match at the buy-in.
What?
She's got one.
Didn't she unqualify? I thought she got beat by
She's fighting Maka for maybe the last spot in the qualifier.
Who?
Maka.
I don't know who that is.
Stardom.
And it's my job to know people.
Stardom. You know that.
Hey, look, I'll be completely transparent. Stardom has changed over a lot of their talent since I was watching.
That is true.
So, they got the new blood. All right, Misty Ball versus the Premier Athletes. Misty Ball goes over. And we get the aforementioned Gabe Kidd Promoniette. And then we get Jake Doyle versus Adam Priest. Again, why do we think who's winning? And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'd like to see, if we had just took all the people we knew we were going to win in we're going to win, and then you shaved some time off of all of that, we could have even got 2 or 3 more of these squash matches in. If you're trying to get people on the show, get them a match, get them some TV time, ring time, get overtime, all this stuff. We could have got 2 or 3 more if you would have cut some of these down. Like, don't go to break during this. Adam Priest ain't winning. Don't try to tell me that because he won a match on the Indies against Jake Doyle years ago that he's got a chance.
You want comedy, Vet? I could give something for Jake Doyle. Don Callis should have gave Jake Doyle the national heavyweight title from Dunkzilla, since he's got the visa issues. He's fighting for Dunkzilla. I'm defending this title. I'm giving you eliminator matches.
Ooh, so we can do the Zarya and Sol Ruka storyline?
Yes, okay. We can do that. Yeah, give Jake Doyle something to work with.
Hey, we got a Willow vignette. Did you know that? She's in the gym training hard. She did some Stevie Richards fitness in the gym. She did some weightlifting in the gym. She did some hammer curls. I saw her doing some hammer curls in there. We know that she's got that motion down pat because it's the motion of lifting something to your mouth. So Willow's on the comeback trail, guys. Don't worry. But my goodness, what happened? What happened? Jimmy hit the wrong button. Jimmy,
come on. Oh, there you go. Let me ask you this question, because now I'm going to put my conspiracy tinfoil hat on. Ooh. With Willow training, and we know that maybe a pay-per-view's coming up, is she return? Was the injury legitimate? That's the thing. Was the injury legitimate to X her out and bring Mercedes in? Because if she's coming back conveniently after the Owens over, I'm just saying.
I'm gonna lean toward the injury being legit only because she had a scheduled booking that she couldn't do because of that. Like, even for storyline reasons, I don't think most of the time the promoters doesn't want to pull the advertised match unless they have to. That's the only reason I would lean towards it. Now, that doesn't guarantee it 100%. But I do think that Mercedes was probably called back to action, because again, the other thing the promoter likes to do is if you can't deliver the advertised, you're supposed to deliver equal or greater value. So
very true.
If it's like, oh damn, we can't get Willow, but Mercedes, we were waiting for Mercedes, we were giving her more time off, and she could have, for all we know, she could have been the one to be like, put me in, coach. Like, it's fine, I understand. Like, I can help out, I don't need to wait an extra few weeks to come back. She probably would have made her debut after Forbidden Door, doing something leading up to All In so she could have a feature match there perhaps. And then the plans all changed. But that's just me speculating and trying to give everybody the benefit of the doubt.
That's cool. I just like to put my tinfoil hat on for that matter.
No problem. You can argue that same point I just gave to you with all those people on X later. But for now, we've got the main event because there's been enough talking. And it's Hyan and Maya World reuniting their precious tag team, which the commentary team let us know they've been a tag team 7 times on AEW. And I know they've tagged up a lot more than 7 times. So that means that they've been all Ring of Honor all the time, this whole time. And they didn't even want to give us that number. They could have said they've been a tag team and then said the total number of times. But for some reason, they decided to give us the little number. Versus Athena and Monet. And what a legendary tag team that is. And you're damn right they're going over, because fuck, if you beat either one of these women again, right now, that's going to be bad for business. So, and I will say, I don't know if you get to caught this. Maybe people were stalling on the soccer game there, Professor, and weren't really doing anything at the time. But Athena hit an O face like I've never seen before. She did like a, like Cesaro would do, like he'd get on the second turnbuckle and sort of launch himself at you with the uppercut, like spring off the thing and do like a flying uppercut. She did that, but the O face. I was like, fuck, I didn't even know what she was doing at first until she came down with the stunner. I thought she was just doing a flying tackle or something, but she got her. And by her, I mean Hyan, of course, because you're not going to beat Maya World, even though, we talked about it. But going into the big match, you want to keep her over a little bit. And then there was a post-match scuffle, and the heels were kind of up. So,
So before we close out, how many nights? Again, we're not doing a predictions part. That's you and me.
We're not doing a spoiler part either with our client.
The only thing I will do with Vet is we got to at least talk about the matches that matter that might have ramifications for future shows. Are you ready for that?
This should be short.
Yes, it's only 3 matches I just want to talk about.
Okay.
We're going to just talk about the Owen finals, men's and women's.
Okay.
And we'll talk about the steel cage match and see where we would go with that. That's all I will say. So for me, Vet, I'll start with this, with the Owen men and women. Well, I want to start with the women's finals because after what we saw with last week, again, I'm afraid here. Something, and again, as Josh has said, predictable is still fun. I don't mind predictability, but because the predictability should be Mercedes goes over and we're all amped for London, Mercedes against Tekla should be all, a 5-star clinic. The problem, and maybe this is a good thing, I don't know if this is a good or bad thing, but with the heel going strong over and over for the last 2 weeks on My World, right, Vet? Is she primed for that roll-up surprise victory? Is she primed for Tony? I know what you said last week. She's not ready for prime time yet, and I totally agree. But I think Tony is trying to, I don't want to use that Roman Reigns analogy in 2015, but push somebody that's too soon to be pushed. Is My World due for that upset of 2026 against Mercedes Moné tonight?
So, you're just to be clear, you're asking from the standpoint of what do I think Tony's going to do, not whether she's ready for it.
Right.
Well, let me ask you. Let me answer your question with a question for you.
Cool.
Do you not, at this point in time, basically see this as a 50-50? In Tony, going from the Tony aspect, like what could Tony Khan book? Either it's predictable that Monet would just defeat this scrub. It's also predictable that the scrub would get an upset. So that makes it a 50-50. Like, it seems to me equally predictable if I'm trying to think what somebody else would do. I mean, if you hand the pencil to me or you, that's even more predictable. We're like, all right, experiment over. Sorry about your brother. Time to get real. You could still, because you have to think ahead. Okay, so now you put Maya World over. So one of your marquee matches at Wembley Stadium is 2 women that the vast majority of the wrestling fandom public have never heard of. As good a job as Tekla is doing, is mainstream wrestling going to look at that name and say, oh yeah, Tekla, I'll watch anything she does? Not at this point. Hopefully one day, but at this point, no. You put a Mercedes in there, you're still taking the name value off it because the mainstream wrestling public still knows Sasha Banks, right?
That's true.
But it's still more of a marquee match if you're trying to sell tickets. Do you think Maya World is going to sell 1 ticket in England?
My fear is, I think sometimes you can agree with this. Tony Khan does pivot a lot because of the chatter he reads on the tweets. He tries to appease the sickos. Now, if the sickos want this, then he's going to give the sickos what they want. And that's the thing. I just, as 50-50 as it is, and it's good to have 50-50 because you don't want it as totally predictable. But again, from a business sense, I agree with you 100%. It should be Mercedes against Tekla because Mercedes is in the name value for a 50,000 seat arena at Wembley Stadium. Tekla is not there. Tekla has untapped potential because of the character development that she's doing, and she's funny as hell right now. But she's not mainstream. Not like Mercedes.
I think they tapped it, and I think they're leaving the faucet on. So I'm not worried about that. But I just look at, like, Maya, bless her, Maya is just not, she can't go. So at the very least, if you're trying to please the sickos, you have to think not about what they say, but what they're gonna say. If you try to put that match in front of however many thousands and thousands of people that are supposedly going to buy a ticket, and you'd like to sell a few more, so I just don't see the sense in it.
You understand my concern. That's what I'm just saying. The concern is still there because I can see Tony Khan trying to do that.
I do, but if you think Tony Khan is going to listen to the people that much, then I hope he was listening to the people in the crowd that night who were kind of not really cheering for Maya and Hyan in that tag team match.
That's true.
I mean, I didn't know how much of that you caught, but her comebacks and stuff were lukewarm at best. It could just be a New Mexico crowd that was tired of seeing shit like JD Drake with his shirt off. But
I think it was a Dynamite Collision one show. So
So either way, they didn't seem too excited that night.
Gotcha.
So it's everybody knows what you're doing too, because especially if you make an angle out of it, if you're telling people, okay, we're gonna film this little vignette where Maya talks about her brother and all this stuff, and they use that as part of the package or whatever. So now you're telling them that, and now the wrestling sicko, not a normal person, but the AEW, the Observer readers, they're seeing that and they're like, oh, you're pushing her because it's pity. So they're already looking at that. So they're not going to cheer for her necessarily when they can see something so obvious going on. You know, it's one thing to have empathy for a person, but that doesn't mean that's what you want to see all the time.
I don't.
Harsh reality. What about the next match? So I say Tony's not going to be that stupid. It's Mercedes going to England.
I hope so too. I want Mercedes to win because we should have got Mercedes against Athena, but we didn't get that. But the next one, I guess we should talk about Billy Goat against Swerve, the most dangerous man in AEW. He should have been EVP, but that's a different story for another day. Again, we've talked about the predictability that Billy Goat should be going all the way to Wembley Stadium. But again, do you see an inkling of Tony Khan trying to outmark the marks, maybe pivot towards Swerve, because Swerve has been saying he hasn't gotten a title shot since he lost in Wembley, so he could come full circle with himself too? You don't see that either?
No, 0% chance. This would be the biggest fumble in wrestling history.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, I mean, and then, because even if you don't believe it, even if you don't want to look at Will Ospreay's story, flip the coin then. Swerve versus MJF.
Unless you need weeks of building on that to make it at least interesting, but they haven't done anything.
But that's also a good match for down the road. Don't need it at All In. Don't need it there. You might need that to sell a lesser pay-per-view later if you could build it. But it ain't time for that. And nobody wants to see that. And it's two heels. And it's just not, it's Will Ospreay is so obvious that swerving for the sake of swerving would do irreparable damage to your company. He might not survive another year to another Wembley.
All right. So with that being said, just one more match, and we'll just talk about the steel cage extravaganza. I don't know if it's War Game style or they should have called this Blood and Guts, but again, they're not going to do the 2-ring thing. So maybe that's what Forbidden Door should be replaced with, Blood and Guts as a pay-per-view. Finally, just get off, just do it right like that. So let me just get the participants right. We got Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, Takeshita, and Darby Allin, who just got married this weekend. Event, so just so you know that, against Team MJ, or what was it called? Team Don MJF.
It was DCMJF.
Oh, DCMJF with him, Kevin Knight, Kevin Willie. Let's talk about it. Kyle Fletcher, Jake Doyle, Okada, and Andrade El Idolo. I look at this again. I look at what should happen, and again, I think the hero should go over here, and I think Andrade and whatchamacallit, MJF will have something happening within the cage to prolong that either towards Beach Brawl or I think the Mexico show that Dynamite, where he should get his title shot there. Again, the nuances is the people that are chasing MJF right now. officially we got Kevin Whaley. Let's talk about it. Andrade has inklings of wanting to be the champion himself. We got Mark Briscoe as a player here too, and of course the wild card. We don't need to talk about him, but Kenny Omega, and people want to talk about redemption there. So that to close out, what do you think about this cage match? Where should they go? What should be the right story to tell? Because again, there's a lot of people chasing MJF for that title.
If Mark Briscoe doesn't win, if his team doesn't win, he never gets a title shot again.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we've seen this happen a bunch of times. With different outcomes, but yes, people like to put this stipulation up. I just don't see it. I see one day down the road, Mark Briscoe getting that moment. I mean, if Darby can get it, certainly Mark Briscoe can get it, right?
Hey, Sammy got it yesterday, so why not Mark Briscoe too?
Know, yeah, anybody can. You just got to believe. But
of course,
the thing is, I don't see it now, of course. So, but it'll give him another match, and it adds to the legacy. I mean, we could have. There's certain people that every time they get in there together, it always, they're able to keep it fresh. Like, to me, if I see MJF versus Mark Briscoe many times, it can be different every time, as long as they present it to me in a way that I find palatable. You just, okay, it's time for them to fight again. Don't do it too often, but you can do it repeatedly, because that's where rivalries come from. You know, we got a Flair Steamboat trilogy, but if you were watching closely as a fan in those days, you saw it much more than 3 times, right? So that's basically where we're at. So, I mean, I'm not comparing those guys, but what I'm saying is, it's okay to have multiple matches, and having Mark Briscoe win this blood and guts like match. Okay. Then they go on and, he goes to challenge and then he loses, comes up short. Okay. But if there's some nefarious stuff happening, there's always that, damn it. You just can't do it legit. I'm going to keep coming after you, like these type of things. You could keep the story going that way. If MJF just beats Mark Briscoe's team and he never gets a challenge for the title, well, okay, then what's interesting about that, really? You give people that little bit of hope, and then you take it away. If you just take things away without even giving them the hope, they just start to be like, disinterested.
And before we close out, that this has nothing to do with anything. I just want your personal opinion from your years of wrestling, OVW and stuff like that. The old school adage was, there's money in the chase. As jaded as the IWC is today with their impatience and, predictable, their booking and their fantasy booking, like you said, maybe I have my own fantasy booking. Is there money in the chase anymore, especially today, or no?
The real answer is, there's money in doing it right.
Okay.
And that could be, I mean, that I'm not talking about doing the chase. I'm talking about it meaning anything. Whatever you do well, there's money in it. If you sell people a product that they want, there's money in it. If you don't, there's no money in it. So, for example, WWE has built their business recently as, this is the traveling brand. Okay? You're paying to see WWE. We've got these people here. It was they much more pinned their hopes to a single person in the past, whether it was Bruno Sammartino or Hulk Hogan or Steve Austin or whatever it was. In the past, they were like, here's the guy. But even if the person, like when Bruno Sammartino was selling out the Garden all those times, he wasn't chasing. So if you give the people what they want and do it right, there's money in it. That's the real answer. Now, if you want to just focus on the chase part, it's not as important, especially when there's so many belts. Every belt you add takes away from a world title. And and you're talking about WWE, a company with 2 world titles, and one of them is called the Undisputed title? Are you fucking out of your minds? Are you out of your minds? Mm-hmm. So what are we, like, I look at the whole wrestling landscape and I'm like, what is anybody doing? When I'm at my shoot job, busting my ass, and I'm like, these people make money at this. And hearing people like Mickie James say, Tommy Dreamer will always have a job in wrestling. Fuck! I don't want to hear that, you know? So that's what I look at. I look at this whole landscape and I see so many missed opportunities that people could get so much more out of. But as far as like worrying about chasing or even who's a champion, that doesn't matter at all anymore. That's why I said when Sami Zayn, it's like, I'm happy for him, but it doesn't really matter. Mm-hmm. You know,
they talked about 10 years or something, like he was chasing 10 times he chased it previously and came up short. They didn't make it a story. The story was Saudi to Saudi.
The fans turned on him right before that. You know what I mean? Which mm-hmm. Sami Zayn is like the perennial baby face. Somehow they managed to make people not like him as a baby face, not when he was playing the heel, as mm-hmm. the baby face. So it's weird how these things happen. Meanwhile, you got LA Knight, right? And people still respond to LA Knight, and there's still pop for LA Knight, and they're still behind LA Knight because they feel like he's getting the shaft. So he's chasing something, even though it's not specifically, hey, I'm in a program for the world title or the main title, but anything he does, they feel like he's not getting it. So they're still with him. They're still cheering him. And they'll be that much happier for him if he does achieve it.
No, then they'll hate him once he achieves it.
Maybe they'll hate him when maybe they'll hate him when he achieves it, but they also mm-hmm. turn on people when they get too much too soon. That's why they hated Roman for so many years, because they knew. They were like, you are a corporate choice. We don't like you. You said suffer and succotash. You cut a promo on Jack and the Beanstalk. That's not you. That's an old man putting words in your mouth. Boo. They tried everything to get that guy over. They had Triple H win a belt so that everybody hates Triple H, right? And they had Triple H win a belt. And by the way, he gave Jon Moxley the best match of his career quietly, at that roadblock or whatever, when he was the champion. Triple H did. So the only person to ever get a good match out of Jon Moxley was Triple H. Just saying that just quietly. You don't have to take my word for it. But
Sports Illustrated said it too.
Bleacher Report. Okay. So, but they did that. They said, everybody hates Triple H. We'll have him win this belt just so Roman Reigns could beat him and they'll love him. And then they booed the shit out of Roman Reigns when he beat Triple H. Because by that point, Triple H has more cachet with the fans. They're so out of touch with what they're doing over there. They don't know what they got. So that's the thing. It's like you can have somebody chasing, and that will get the people behind you for a little while. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if it transfers into money the same way, because if you have a good champion and they're doing a good job like Cody was, there's money in that too. They could have done better with Cody in the creative, but from a money standpoint, they wouldn't have left it with him that long if it wasn't making financial sense. So there's money in the hold. There's money in anything that you do if you do it well. That's the main point.
There you go. And there's nothing left to be said, Jaime Knight. So with that being said, we close on this AEW Forbidden Door Go Home Edition Wreckage style. So Vet, you're going to be on the Twitch playing those games. What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. But you can find me at Opinion Haver on all your favorite social media platforms, including Twitch and all the other ones. You can catch me every Wednesday, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. National Beer and Energy. You catch me every Monday night, 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 Impact, or Drew Carey Show with Brandon. You could catch me, you catch Wrestling with Rogers every Friday. You catch Stevie Richards every Thursday. You can catch, what's his name? Timmy Baltimore with a fresh new episode available now, actually talking about Tommy Dreamer and some stuff. So you may want to hear his perspective on it, because he's close to the situation, let's say.
Wow. Kudos to Jimmy T on the booth right there when the vet went on fast forward speed right there. So with that, I'm going to go a little bit slower, Jimmy, so don't worry. But you can catch me. Tell a friend to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Pro Wrestling Reflection. Our latest episode is Greatest Heel Turns. Ole Anderson betrays Dusty Rhodes from 1980. Follow me on my Twitter at PWSOPRF. That's PWSOProf. And of course, like I said, sponsor the YouTube channel. Get a friend to subscribe to it at Pro Wrestling Reflection. And with that being said, Jimmy, get your picks out there. DM them to me so this way we can have some fun next week. So we're gonna have an overbloated Wreckage. Vet is gonna be busy for this whole week. He's gotta watch NXT Great American Bash. He's gotta watch AEW Forbidden Door. And we got to talk about he's going to talk about it on Wednesday with the Next Level. And then next Sunday, Vet, are you going to be ready to talk about an overbloated Wreckage?
I'm going to need to pack a lunch, and it's going to be all muffins.
So with that being said, I'm the Professor, that's the Vet, and Jimmy T's in the booth saying good night. We'll see you next time here at the
Wreckage.
Boy. See ya!